Gather close, you're entering the circle of her knowledge keeper, where ancient wisdom meets the modern soul and awakens the wisdom within you. There are moments in history when one woman dares to stand where no one else will, not with a sword, but with a scroll, not to conquer, but to illuminate. This is the story of Hypatia of Alexandria, philosopher, scientist, teacher, and rebel. She rose in a city cracking under religious conflict. She taught in a time when thought itself was under siege, and she died for what she refused to surrender, truth. But truth doesn't burn easily, and tonight her voice rises again. Alexandria, a city of wonders, built by Alexander the Great, ruled by pharaohs, and crowned by the greatest library the ancient world had ever known. By the 4th century CE, much of the library was gone, lost to fires, wars, and time. But its spirit lived on in the scholars who gathered in its shadow, and among them rose a woman unlike any other. Hypatia was born around 360 CE to Theon, a mathematician and philosopher. But where her father calculated stars, she reached for their meaning. From a young age, Hypatia was trained in mathematics, astronomy, philosophy, and rhetoric. But not quietly. She lectured, she debated, she led. By the time she was 30, she wasn't just the daughter of a scholar. She was the most respected intellectual in Alexandria. Men crossed deserts to learn from her. And in a world silencing women, she taught with her whole voice. The Roman Empire was splintering. Temples were falling, books were burning, and into the silence stepped a woman with a stylus in her hand. Hypatia didn't just survive this chaos, she thrived in it. She wasn't tucked away in secret chambers. She taught in public, on marble steps and in crowded forums, where the hungry minds of Alexandria gathered to be fed. Her voice rang out over stone courtyards. She taught not only philosophy, but mathematics, astronomy, and mechanics at a level few in the empire could match. She refined Ptolemy's astronomical tables, adjusting the model of planetary motion that would guide sky watchers and seafarers for centuries. She wrote commentaries on Diophantus's Arithmetica, an ancient work on algebra that centuries later would inspire mathematicians across the Islamic world, and even Fibonacci in the West. She explored conic sections, ellipses, parabolas, hyperbolas, those elegant curves that now govern everything from bridge designs to spaceflight trajectories. And it's believed she helped perfect the astrolabe, a device that could locate stars, tell time, and even navigate the seas. The original star compass, tuned by the hands of a woman. By the time she was 30, students from across the empire, pagan, Christian, Jewish, and skeptic, came to sit at her feet. They called her the philosopher, not the female philosopher, not the exception, just the philosopher. She dared to advise governors. She debated bishops. She offered counsel not with prayers, but with logic. And most rebelliously of all, she refused to take sides, because Hypatia believed that truth belonged to no religion. That reason was sacred, and that wisdom should never be caged by fear. To some, she was a saint of light. To others, a threat cloaked in reason. But to the men who craved control, she was something far more dangerous. She was free. The year was 415 CE. Alexandria was a city divided. The old gods were dying. A new church was rising. And between the cracks, violence. Cyril, the city's bishop, was consolidating power with an iron fist. Orestes, the governor, resisted, and Hypatia, she stood between them, a counsellor to Orestes, a critic of dogma, a woman with influence, and no allegiance to the church. Whispers began. Witch, pagan, obstacle. But Hypatia cast no spells. She needed no magic. Her power was knowledge, and that was threat enough. One day, as she rode home in her chariot, they came for her. A mob, fanatical, enraged, and manipulated. They dragged her from the street into a church. They stripped her, they beat her, and they tore her to pieces. The philosopher who studied the stars was murdered beneath a cross, not because she was evil, but because she would not kneel. They silenced her body, but not her mind. Her student, Synesius of Cyrene, became a bishop himself, and credited Hypatia with shaping his understanding of the soul, the cosmos, and the divine order. Her teachings rippled through the centuries, hidden in manuscripts, echoed in Islamic Golden Age scholarship, reflected in Renaissance mathematics, and now embedded in every code, satellite, and GPS system that relies on the geometry she once taught. Even the conic sections she studied, they live on in the curvature of telescopes, the orbit of planets, the quiet grace of architectural domes. She was not a myth. She was not a symbol. She was a scientist, a rebel, a woman of reason. So the next time you're told to dim your light, to stay silent, to stay small, remember Hypatia. She was the last light of Alexandria, but she lit 1,000 more, and now one of them is you. If her story stirred something inside you, let it rise. Like, subscribe, comment below. Tell us, what truth are you ready to protect? And share this story with a woman who walks boldly with wisdom in her bones. This is her Knowledge Keeper, where sacred stories are remembered, powerful women are reborn, and hidden truths rise like stars in the dark.